Picture this. You're sitting on the couch, endlessly scrolling on your phone. Just a few feet away sits a massive to-do list, completely ignored, while your apartment slowly descends into chaos. You feel uniquely exhausted. There's a heavy fog sitting in your brain, and beneath it all, a crushing weight of guilt, because you know exactly what you should be doing. It's easy to look at that scenario and assign a harsh label. Society tells us, and the voice inside your own head probably agrees, that this inability to act is a moral failing. You're simply being lazy. In reality, your body might be initiating a biological shutdown to protect its remaining resources. This diagram illustrates your brain as a processor with finite bandwidth. Normally, data flows smoothly, but add constant notifications, noise, and endless to-do lists, these inputs rapidly exceed capacity, and the system becomes overburdened, crashing output to zero. This physical system crash looks an awful lot like laziness from the outside. In reality, your brain has literally shut down to protect itself. It refuses to generate motivation because it simply cannot intake any more information. You can spot the difference by looking at specific behavioral symptoms. You might find yourself frantically jumping from task to task, feeling a bizarre sense of urgency for things that don't matter, or leaning into phantom rings, convinced someone is texting you when your phone is completely silent. It also creates a paradox when you try to rest. You can lie physically still on the couch for an hour, but because you spent the entire time scrolling on your phone, you get up feeling significantly more exhausted than when you sat down. Identifying these symptoms allows you to address the root of the problem, a physical need for sensory rest. This diagram compares the efficient throughput of a single, focused data stream against the stuttering bottleneck of multiple competing streams. Attempting to type, text, and read simultaneously exponentially increases your mental strain. Multitasking is a myth. When you push your mind that hard, your nervous system triggers a defense mechanism. It forcefully demands downtime to clear out the massive backlog of processing. The destructive cycle begins when we try to satisfy the brain's demand for a break by engaging in digital activities that are just as stimulating as the work we were trying to escape. This false rest compounds the mental fatigue. You sink directly into severe decision paralysis, where even the simplest actions, like answering an email or doing a dish, feel impossible to start. Because you can't start, you avoid work. That avoidance creates a massive backlog of real-world tasks, which generates intense anxiety, which in turn fuels even more overstimulation. The writer Anne Lamott captures the mechanical reality of this perfectly. She wrote, "Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you." When your system completely overloads, it brings to mind author J.K. Rowling's observation, "And so rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life." Complete exhaustion forces you to reassess the habits that got you there. Absolute paralysis serves as a mandatory system crash. It is the necessary alarm required to force a massive change in how we manage our sensory inputs. Halting this chaos requires immediate behavioral changes. You have to implement scheduled digital detoxes by physically separating yourself from your phone. You need to erect firm environmental boundaries. Hang a do not disturb sign on your door, or leave your devices in an entirely different room while you work. The biggest psychological barrier to disconnecting is the fear of missing something urgent. But the reality is that almost no text or digital notification constitutes a true emergency. It can wait. Once the distractions are gone, adopt the rule of single tasking. Focusing entirely on one action at a time provides a sustainable method to process work without triggering immediate mental fatigue. Establishing these non-negotiable boundaries acts as a physical shield. It cuts off chaotic inputs from the outside world, finally allowing your nervous system the time it needs to reset. With those boundaries in place, you can structure a workspace designed for clarity. Bring in natural light, physically organize your desk, and strip away the digital clutter. You also have to schedule your physical maintenance. Stepping outside for fresh air and eating brain food are critical components of a functioning workflow, rather than optional luxuries. This chart visualizes human motivation. Notice that it isn't a finite fuel tank that empties out completely. It's a naturally fluctuating state that ebbs and flows on its own when the system is unblocked. To prevent future overstimulation, you have to acknowledge your personal bandwidth limits. That means checking in with your mental state and taking a break before the system crashes. Practicing these techniques creates a long-term investment in your mental clarity and emotional well-being. True motivation cannot be forced or squeezed out of an exhausted brain. It returns entirely on its own when we stop fighting our human limits and intentionally replace the chaos with an environment of peace.